بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى أهله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the Master of the Day of Judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the God of Adam and the God of Abraham, the God of Moses and the God of David, the God of Jesus and the God of Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of God be upon all of His chosen prophets and upon all those who choose to tread in their paths until the last day. It is said that there was once a young man who deeply loved his family, that he had a wife who he cared for very much, and they had a young son, a little boy, who was the object of their adoration and affection. The situation comes about that this young man, his mother passes away, and his elderly father needs a place to go and stay. So he goes and lives in the home of his son, the young man. And this elderly man is of such a great age that he needs constant care and attention. It creates a lot of anxiety and frustration in the home of his son. Then one evening they sit down to eat their dinner, and this elderly man, he is so frail, he is so fragile that the sheer weight of the plate that he's holding in his hands is too much for him to handle. He falls from his grasp onto the ground, shattering into pieces. His son, the young man, can't take it anymore, and he unleashes upon his elderly father. You have caused us so much dismay. You have caused us so much tension. You can't even eat without being a problem. So from now on, you will eat at a separate table for my wife, my son, and I. And since you can't eat off of the same plates that we eat off of, henceforth you will eat from this wooden bowl. The elderly man, with a tear in his eyes, he goes and does what he is told. The next day now, this young man, he comes upon his own son, he comes upon his own child, and he sees him playing with some scraps of wood. And he wants to be with his son, he wants to play and participate in what his child is doing. So when he gets close enough, he says to him with a lot of love and adoration and affection in his voice, "Oh my son, what is it that you are doing?" And the young boy, reciprocating the same love, adoration, and affection for his father, says to him, "Oh my father, I am making a wooden bowl for you to eat out of when you get older." We learn implicitly and explicitly, consciously and unconsciously, the I that is me uniquely today is most definitely impacted by every yesterday that I was in this world. And the moment that I find myself in today most assuredly will inform every tomorrow that I'm blessed to breathe in this dunya. The realities of every interaction that I have had, the presence and absence of every individual in my life has shaped for me to be the person that I am today. If I don't have a consciousness or mindfulness of how I have landed in the place that I am, if I don't think about the realities that I came from and try to understand where it was that I was and how that will inform where it is that I will be, my days will not be in yield of their highest potential. I will move in a place where everything becomes mechanical and rote. There will be no presence, no mindfulness. And I won't understand why it is that I see things in the way that I see them. And sometimes, more importantly, why I don't see them in the ways that I know I should. Our tradition is not about the external alone, but it's about understanding the relationship between the internal and the external. And the conversations on how we see the world and the way we see them, why we see them and the way that we see them, does not necessarily start by our thinking about the world alone outside of us, but the world inside of us. What do you think about when you see somebody who is not your skin color? What do you really think about when you see somebody who doesn't dress the way that you dress? What do you think about when you see somebody who doesn't have the same wealth as you do, does not come from the same social class, is not of the same cultural heritage or country of origin? We live in a world right now which is really crazy, where we can be individuals who have never met people from a certain background, people from a certain demographic, but nonetheless we still have a perspective of them. And we see this reality surrounding us day in and day out, where there are so many who have the perspective that the only interest that needs to be served is their own self-interest. They can get up and malign minority groups of every background, every shape and size and color of skin. Faith and conviction that is ours or those that are different from ours. Ideologies and creeds that we might not buy into, but nonetheless, because they don't fit into what is considered to be normative by those who come from a privileged class or from a place of power, they have no qualms in being able to say anything less than the worst of those that are different from them. You got to think for yourself, not about necessarily how they land where they land, but why do we land where we land? What do you really think? Every time you turn on the television screen, you're scrolling down through your social media, you are opening up a magazine, and it tells you about the atrocities that black men and women face in this country every day. What do you think about when you hear the realities that face those who might not have health insurance the way that you do? Their immigration status is not the same as yours. And not to think about the heart alone that is so atrocious that it is able to malign people with bigotry and hate and racism. But to think about our hearts that see these kinds of things taking place in front of us, and we have the means and ability to do something about it, but we still don't. That we're in a place where we can see it literally happen day to day around us. But our engagement of those that we claim to have uniformity with does not exist beyond just a mere external. And it doesn't get to the depths of our internal. The Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, he tells us in a foundational narration in our tradition, ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. That indeed in your jasad, in your being, there's a morsel of flesh. If it is good, the entire being will be good, but if it is not good, the entire being will not be good. Indeed, it is your heart. If you don't have an opportunity where you take a breath to be able to think about how you engage that most important part of you, especially being in a university setting where you learn how to become a businessman, you learn how to become an entrepreneur, you learn how to become a doctor, you learn how to become a lawyer, an academic. But nobody's ever sitting down with you and asking you, why do you love what you love? Why do you hate what you hate? Why do you desire what you desire? Why do you think what you think? Some of us have microaggressions. Some of us have inherent racisms. Some of us have perspectives of the other that only seek to elevate us by denigrating those who are around us. You think about the tables that you ate meals at growing up at in your homes. When you looked across the table, did you ever see somebody who looked different from you? Somebody who was a different shade of skin color, someone who was not of the same social class, somebody who was not of the same religion? But can you engage and address the ideas that necessitate being informed of diverse populations without ever being able to admit that in your heart all you have is a stereotype or preconceived idea and notion of the other? The world around us puts us in boxes. It says Muslims are this and Muslims are that and Muslims are this. I've been visited by the FBI in my home multiple times. Coming on and off planes is the biggest headaches. I've been profiled and surveilled. I can go into it in great detail. But the end result is that if those are the realities that people put us in, to be able to assess, well, what are the realities and boxes that we put those who are around us in as well? Especially in a place that is like this, a university setting that allows for you to engage diversity in ways unlike anything else. You have hosted a Jumu'ah prayer inviting people who are not of the Muslim faith to come and be with you. Tomorrow, how will you go and be with somebody else? How will you sit and understand somebody else's experiences and narratives, not waiting for them to only come and be with you, but having a real strength, a real courage that is in the true legacy of the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who went to be with people rather than waiting for them to come and be with him. And in a world that is filled with a lot of anger, with a lot of darkness, with a lot of hatred, you have to be the reason that people have hope in it, and not the reason that people dread it. The realities that the Muslim community finds itself in today, domestically tied to security policy that has nothing other than our worst interests in minds at times. Foreign policy that has the realities of warfare, drones being dropped. State-sanctioned violence is still violence. May Allah make things easy for all those who find themselves in conflict anywhere. To be in a place where we recognize these realities and we start to dissect it and deconstruct it. At a policy level, when you think about those who find themselves in state legislative positions in our country, those who are congressmen, those who are senators, those who work in city official offices, more often than not, they tend to be elderly Caucasian Protestant men. And they are engaging diverse populations, building policies that will impact those in minority populations. And you see at times the results in those policies. But now think about your local masjid, the community that you come from, the way you run your student groups. If you have a board that is only male, how will it understand how to cater to the needs of women? If you have only people who are from the Indian subcontinent, people who only come from an Arab background, there's no diversity in those places, those boards. The reality will be what it is. And you will not be able to cater to the diverse needs of populations that are looking to you to be able to not create communities that are insularized and only have one singular entry point that caters to a particular ethnicity, race, or culture, or even simply just one gender. But to understand the diversity of experience that we have necessitates being able to think beyond our own experiences and carry to those tables discussions and conversations that might have nothing to do with the way we were brought up, but they're still nonetheless important because they impact the lives of those that are around us. I took about 20 of my students from New York University to illustrate the point, to have lunch at a street cart on 6th Avenue near our Islamic Center. And while we were there was a middle-aged Caucasian woman who was trying to push her way through the group, and she's saying, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me." And when she gets to the front of the group, she looks at me face to face, and she has muttered to herself, "Don't you understand what I'm saying?" And as we look at each other, she says to me quite loudly, "I guess you can't understand what I'm saying. How do they say, 'Excuse me,' where you come from?" I said, "We say, 'Excuse me.'" And she said, no, the place where your family's from, how do they say 'Excuse me' there?" And I said, "I'm from Edison, New Jersey. We say, 'Excuse me.'" She couldn't understand that somebody who looks like this is actually from this place. And that's problematic in and of itself. But now when that mindset sits at a table that starts to impact policy in the ways that communities function and are engaged, It yields a representation of demographics that are not there with their own voice, but the only voice that is there is the worst perspectives of those people. Stereotypes, racisms, whatever it is. You start to see the realities institutionalized and systemically that yield what it is that we're surrounded by day to day. I work as a chaplain for the New York City Police Department. I'm an inspector by rank. It's a fairly high rank, one rank below a one-star chief. And one of the things that we do as police chaplains is on September 11th, every year we attend the Ground Zero Memorial at the Ground Zero site. We start out by having breakfast at police headquarters. We take a bus down to the Ground Zero site and we participate in the ceremony. On the 9th anniversary of the attacks, the ceremony was structured a little bit differently in that the current memorial that's present there was still being built. And so they had it a little bit more closed off. That year, the 9th anniversary of the attacks, Vice President Biden was there as well. And the way they had it set up was there was a stage where the ceremony would take place. There was a VIP area for city officials, family members, individuals who lost loved ones on that day. Behind us, a press pit for the media to come and document it. Behind them, an area for the public to come and view if they wanted to. So while we're waiting for the ceremony to start, I'm in my police uniform. It's an inspector's uniform. I have my beard, I have my head covered. I'm talking to people. 3 men approach me wearing suits and they say that Secret Service has spotted you from the top of a building. They want us to check your credentials just in case. I say, just in case what? They said, we're sorry that we're doing this to you. I said, then why are you doing it? And to understand what they're questioning at that moment is not merely my physical presence at that place, but the entire validity of my emotions tied to that area. I was an undergrad at New York University on September 11th in 2001. I was walking into a class early in the morning, late as I usually was, and when I walked in, my professor wasn't teaching and my classmates were huddled in the corners whispering to each other. The security guard walked to the door and he said that please gather all your belongings, we're evacuating the building, a plane has flown into the World Trade Center. I walked out of that building back into a park that's in the middle of our campus called Washington Square Park, which moments before was completely empty, and now 10 to 12,000 people were standing in it, all looking downtown towards the World Trade Center. There was a lot of noise, a lot of commotion. People were trying to figure out what was going on. And all of a sudden, we got hit by this very heavy silence as we watched the second planes fly into the towers. What seemed like an eternity, but was really moments. As quickly as it hit us, it shattered into pieces and we all went in different directions. I went into my dorm and I overheard people who lived on my floor saying things to the effect of, we need to get all the Muslims together and send them out of this country so that things like this don't happen anymore. When they saw I could hear them, they became quiet. I said, you don't have to be silent on my account. If you really believe it, feel free to keep talking. We had to evacuate that building a little while later, and a young woman tried to push me down the staircase. As students, we had no chaplaincy, no established Islamic center. We had microphones from media all over the world that wanted to know what Muslims thought, and we were arguably the closest Muslim group to that place. I had to stand at funerals for people that I know who were Muslim, as well as people of other walks of life that died on that day. So much of the work that I do today is informed by the atrocities of that day. And in that moment, those men are questioning the validity of all of it. And the frustrating thing isn't that I'm going through it, but what can I do about it? And so where I couldn't speak, and where there were so many eyes watching, and they did not speak, there was a Latina woman standing next to me who lost her son on September 11th, and she spoke. And she said to those men that what you are doing right now is more dishonoring to the memory of our loved ones than anything else. That here this young man is standing with us in our moment of need, and you're making it seem as if he's doing something wrong just because he's Muslim. And as easily as they took the validation away, she brought it right back. Firstly, I would share this with you to give you an understanding that somebody is sitting somewhere developing a policy that trickles down to these men that says, if you see somebody that looks like this, go and look at them again. I'm in a police uniform. But even if I wasn't, it still wouldn't make it okay. Then to be able to recognize and understand that if someone was to ask me if I would do it all over again, I'd say yes, of course. Irregardless of who it is that is letting me believe that I have no place here. If my standing in a certain space is going to make it a little bit easier for someone else to come and stand later, to be able to offer understanding and to be able to give a recognition that combats the bigotry and hatred that we are surrounded by, the inequities that are built into structures in our country, I'm going to keep standing there. You might be the only person that can say something, and it's important for you to say it. Even if nobody else is standing in the places that you have the ability to stand, you need to go and stand simply because God gave you the ability to go and be there. When you think about what a good person is, when you think about somebody who embodies really the best spirit of the Islamic tradition, think about that woman who simply did the right thing because it was the right thing to do. She didn't look to see if the person who was in need was the same skin color as hers, or the same religion as hers, or anything that was similar to her. But she understood and recognized at that moment her power and her privilege, and how she can leverage it for somebody who is underserved. Who is going to say in their right mind, at the ground zero site, on September 11th, anything to a mother who lost a son on the September 11th attacks? And she understood that, and she spoke. You have to be able to recognize what's really going on inside of your heart. To not be driven by the disillusions of the material of this world. To understand that our uniformity can no longer be one that's simply external or tied to the shells, the bodies that we have of this dunya. But to really be able to say, as brothers and sisters, men and women who embody the foundational understandings of this religion, that you got to connect to hearts. And if you're not taking care of your heart, or if you don't know what's going on inside of your heart, you're not going to be able to understand and build a relationship to somebody else's heart. Most of our decisions are motivated by what? The acquisition of money, the acquisition of food, the acquisition of sex, the feeding of our carnal selves, to be able to give us complacency. What we miss out on is real contentment. The heart of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was most amazing. He smiled at every person, gave them salam, young and old, male and female alike. When he spoke to somebody, he let them believe that they were the focus of his attention, not even turning his back on them. And the one time that it happened, revelation came right down, don't do that. A person who embodied mercy, compassion, understanding, hope in every way, shape, or form. But he did so by understanding the importance of taking care of his own heart and not yielding to the realities, subtle or overt, that his ego tried to get him to fall into. You can't give love if you don't have love to give. You can't give peace, you can't give comfort, you can't give hope. If you have anger inside of you, you will give anger. If you have hate inside of you, you will give hate. If you have indifference inside of you, then you will be indifferent. There have always been people who have looked down at others, who have been racist and bigoted. There was also always those who would stand up against them, who would recognize what real truth is and what real courage is. You are at an institution of education that is so high, it is actually qualified as being higher in nature. Your engagement of your Islam cannot be one that is simplistic and it brings the discourse to anything other than a place of elevation. From you all, we will see the building of institutions and services that give without condition and qualification to people of all backgrounds, not just to Muslims or Muslims who are only of your nationality or country of origin. But you go build the domestic violence shelters for our women who are stuck in homes right now, married to men who have no idea what it means to be a man, because there's no place for them to go to. You build the free clinics for the people in this city, in this neighborhood who can't afford to get basic medical attention. The way many of us at times take for granted. You go out and be civically engaged. You go out and vote, even if you don't think you need to do it for your own community. Because if you can't find yourself to be driven to be a part of a system, to go out and enact change for your own self, for your own people, or your own community, then think about who is going to be the best candidate for those young black men and women who are getting shot in the street every day. For those people who their immigration status calls into question nothing other than a solution that says, well, let's just throw them out of the country. For those mothers and fathers who are literally watching their children die in front of their eyes because they don't have access to medical attention the ways that we do. You can't just answer those questions with words that give you complacency, but you go answer them with real actions, because your limbs can't do anything other than respond to the hearts inside of you that are telling the rest of you to go out there and make moves only in the ways that you can. For 23 years, the Prophet ﷺ did not stop. He spent his days in doing whatever he could, serving God's creation in order to connect more to his Creator. And even his nights brought him to a place of mindfulness and consciousness, where his wife, radiallahu ta'ala anha, would ask him of his sleep, and he would say, "Tanama anaya wa la yanama qalbi," that my eyes, they sleep, but my heart does not sleep. That when that body was in a state of slumber, his inside was still in a state of wakefulness. Start with your hearts. Take a look inside. Ask yourself, why do you really think the way that you think? Why do you see this world the way that you see it? And then recognize with a sense of confidence, find within yourself a sense of esteem and value, and go out and share the blessing and benefit that you are with this world that is in need of who you are and what you can uniquely offer to it. But the change can come from this community that doesn't fall into the same regurgitated cycles and patterns that many Muslim communities do. Look for a reason to bring people in. Don't look for a reason to push people out. Draw on your talents and your skills. You have more than 4,000 Muslims at this university who are studying every field and every professional ambition. Sit down with each other once in a while and just ask each other, how are we going to really change this world? How are we going to make it a better place? How will we build what we have the ability to build? With an understanding and recognition that we're going to stand in front of the divine and be asked about not just what we had done, but we had the ability to do, and why we didn't do it. And I can tell you that nothing will be of more value than each and every person that you might not have ever met or even thought that they existed. But they're making dua for you because your work, your actions were mindful of their existence and their realities. It starts from within, and from that first step, you will see drastic change in this world that's around us. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. So a couple requests for dua. There's a brother by the name of Noor Koyas who passed away in the community recently. You please keep him in your prayers, inshallah, that Allah grants him peace in the grave and entrance into Jannah without any judgment. In my community, two of the women who are in our community, their father passed away a few hours before the start of the Jumu'ah prayer earlier this morning as well. You can keep him in your du'as. His name is Afaq Khan. And lastly, one of my students at New York University, her name is Miral. She got hit by a taxi cab unexpectedly. Is in quite critical condition in a hospital in New York City at this moment. So if you can please keep her in your prayers as well, that Allah grants her a complete shifa and a quick and easy recovery, and makes this ailment a means of purification in this world and elevation in the next, inshallah. As we make dua, I would ask that you just be fully present. Allow for yourself to break away from the distractions of this dunya and let yourself be here emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. Don't think about where it is that you need to be, because where you need to be is right here. And let yourself understand that through the barakah of the gathering, from the barakah of this day of Jumu'ah, from the recognition of just simply the righteous who are present here, there is that much more opportunity for this dua to be readily accepted. But your individual voice and the presence of your heart will have that much more impact on our collective prayer. So if anything else is telling you to be somewhere else, let your heart tell you that no, you are in the right place, and your voice is more important than any other voice that is going to be making this dua at this moment. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or we come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Increase us, Ya Allah, in all that is good. Increase us in courage, compassion, and confidence. Protect us from any affliction, anxiety, or anguish. Remove from our hearts any feelings of jealousy, envy, animosity, or bitterness towards any of your creation, including us ourselves. Grant us hearts that are filled with love, understanding, hope, respect for all of your creation, including us ourselves. Hearts that are in a state of tranquility, hearts that are in a state of peace, hearts that are in a state of calm, a state of true sakina. Hearts that are drawn towards your remembrance, for indeed in your remembrance do hearts find rest. Ya Allah, help us to see the value in ourselves and to go out and share that value with those that are around us. Make us a means of benefit for all of your creation, without condition, without qualification. Through us, Ya Allah, bring hope to your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, be generous to your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, love your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, feed your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, clothe your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, give shelter to your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, give strength to your creation. Through us, Ya Allah, give courage to your creation. Help us to see what it is that we have the means to do. And grant us the tawfiq, the wisdom, the hikmah to go out and do everything that we have the ability to do. To not wait for others to do what we can do. And to give us more strength, to give us more sincerity, to give us more energy to continue to do those things that others believe can never be done. Ya Allah, there are those who find themselves in dire straits and great conflict in this world at this moment. People who deal with the reality that they have no food to eat or no water to drink. Mothers who have to make the difficult decision at this moment which of their children they will give the few morsels that they have and which they will see starve in front of their eyes. Fathers who are walking miles and miles to find something for their children to quench their thirst, and the water that they find is so filthy it causes more damage to their bodies than had they not drank it in the first place. Ya Allah, grant them the best of meals in the world beyond this one, and help us to recognize the blessing of every bite of food and every sip of water that you have given to us. Ya Allah, there are those who have no homes to go to. Nothing to protect them from the inclement weather, whether it is rain or severe sun or snow that is falling upon them. The streets are their homes. They find shelter under the awnings of restaurants when they're closed, or the steps of churches and other houses of worship. Ya Allah, grant them the best of homes in the world beyond this one. And help us to open up our homes, our communities to all those that we have the ability to. Ya Allah, there are those who are coming to the realization that they have seen a loved one for the last time. Mothers who are longing to feel the warm embrace of their babies. Fathers who are dealing with the reality that they have outlived their children. Children who stare longingly at the doors of their homes, hoping perhaps that they will once again for a moment just see someone that their heart longs for. Ya Allah, grant them the best of reunions in the world beyond this one. And grant peace to any and everyone that our hearts long for in the graves that they are in, and give them nothing less than Jannah. And help us to value those who are in our lives while we still have them here with us. To let them know that we love them, that we are grateful for them, that we are appreciative of them. And forgive us when we forget. Forgive us when we make mistakes. Forgive us when we give in to our nafs. Ya Allah, those who find themselves in great conflict, bring to them a much needed peace. You who are the source of peace, from you is all peace. Bring to this world peace that only you can bring to it. Ya Allah, make things easy for our brothers and sisters in Gaza, our brothers and sisters in Jerusalem and the West Bank, our brothers and sisters throughout Palestine. Make things easy for our brothers and sisters in Syria, those who are in the country and those who are walking around this earth trying to find a place that will just take them in. Ya Allah, make things easy for our brothers and sisters throughout the Gulf, our brothers and sisters in the Indian subcontinent, our brothers and sisters in Burma and China, our brothers and sisters throughout Africa, who so much of the world has forgotten, as bombs are dropping throughout Europe, as bombs are dropping in other parts of the world, that we who have to understand what is really the state of our hearts, that we don't even know what's happening in Nigeria. Ya Allah, make things easy for all of them. Ya Allah, make things easy for our brothers and sisters in this country that are still plagued with a deeply embedded and entrenched presence of racism and hatred, where shootings take place day in and day out. Churches are burned to the ground simply because those who attend them come from an African American background. And those who are the perpetrators of the crime are never taken towards justice because they come from a place of privilege. Ya Allah, make things easy for our brothers and sisters throughout this country, and help us to understand that our brothers and sisters are not simply those who share faith with us, but they are brothers and sisters in humanity. Make us generous the way Muhammad was generous. Make us truthful the way Muhammad was truthful. Make us people of integrity, honesty, and trust, the way the Prophet ﷺ was a man of integrity, honesty, and truth. Ya Allah, accept our dua. Ya Allah, accept our dua. Ya Allah, accept our dua. Ya Allah, grant us Jannah. Ya Allah, grant us Jannah. Ya Allah, grant us Jannah. Ya Allah, bless this community here. Ya Allah, from these young people give rise to the leaders that we are in need of. Those who seek not to serve their own interest, but seek the best interest of your creation. Those who don't seek to only serve those who are privileged, but understand that the societies that we live in will only reach their potential and pinnacle when we start to serve the most underserved and underprivileged. Ya Allah, through this community, bring benefit to your creation. Ya Allah, through this community, bring hope to your creation. Ya Allah, through this community, bring strength to your creation. Let this community be the reason that this world has still hope, and never the reason that people dread this world. Ya Allah, protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وأهله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيم الصلاة.